Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from, and welcome to today's episode of Latoken TV, where we deal with issues and trends affecting us wherever we are in the world. And today we have panelists who are experienced investors and entrepreneurs in on the topic that we're going to handle today. And just before we go into the topic, into the introduction of our panelists, we'll be talking about investment in SaaS. Now, according to previous conversations I had, in some part of the world, SaaS means something else, but in this context, we're talking about software as a service. And I think software licensing and the delivery model is where software is provided as a subscription based service, which is hosted centrally on the cloud. Sometimes it is referred to as on-demand software. And the great thing about this industry is that it has a market capitalization of over $1 trillion as of 2019. Now, we'll be talking about this industry, the pros, the cons, things to look out for, and the drawbacks of the industry. And if you think this topic doesn't really concern you, if you actually watch Netflix, know that Netflix is a form of SaaS service. So you just might want to stay tuned. For entrepreneurs who are watching us, for startups who are watching us, here's an opportunity to pitch your startup to these investors on our or these panelists on our show. You can easily get in touch with me or the Latoken VCTV team, and we'll schedule a session for you to pitch your project to our panelists. So with that brief, somewhat intro, let me go straight into introducing the panelists. So I think I'll start from Mansingh. Please give us a brief intro about yourself, what you do, where you're from, and what you have to offer us today.
Sure. So thanks, Mansingh. So I'm part of two companies currently. So I'm venture partner with Our Ventures, and it's one of the leading venture capital firm in India, and where we focus on it's a sector agnostic firms where we focus on investment from 150K to all the way to $10 million. And I'm also the founder and managing partner at Growth Culture. So Growth Culture is an startup accelerator where we focus on enterprise tech and SaaS companies, and we help them with funding, mentorship, network, which can help them scale the business. Right? And I'm based in Mumbai, so that's where I'm joining you guys from. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for that brief intro. And I think we'll move next to Tushar. Please give us a brief intro about yourself and what you are about.
Thank you. It's good to be part of the show and to come again on Latoken VCTV. Myself, Tushar Kansal. My company, Kansaltancy Ventures, is into venture capital, into arranging equity from third-party investors, into debt and mergers and acquisitions. I also manage an angel network called Saffron First with around 38 high net worth individuals. My experience in the last 20 years has been with companies like Deloitte and Touche, Brand Capital, heading treasury at MTS, the Russian telecom company, where I raised almost $2.5 billion for the company, and was CFO with Distribution Logistics. That's a company owned by Guggenheim Partners. We help startups across sectors. We are sector agnostic, but it just so happens that a large part of startups which come to us are tech startups. Within different sectors. Happy to be here and be discussing SaaS, which is a very, very important subset of the tech sector, and looking for an exciting discussion.
Awesome. Thanks for that intro. So Harsh, will you give us a breakdown of yourself, what you're into, for the audience sake?
Sure. Thanks a lot, Nathan, and glad to be back on VCTV and to have some familiar faces over here. To give a small brief about myself, my name is Harsh Shetia. I'm currently a venture partner with Our Ventures, And prior to that, I've worked with several companies like Paytm and Johnson & Johnson, which are Fortune 50 unicorn companies. We currently help raise funds for startups all the way up $10 million, as Mansingh earlier pointed out. Additionally, I'm actually right now raising funds for two SaaS startups. One is in the B2B SaaS space and one is in enterprise SaaS space. So this discussion is going to be very interesting to have, especially with some, my fellow co-panelists like Mansingh and Tushar, and we can have some good discussion over here.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks for that, Harsh. And everyone, Mansingh, Tushar. I think I would like to start to confess my naivety about this topic. All I know is that it's a really fast growing sector, and I'm looking forward to your insights, and the audience obviously will be looking forward to what they can learn from you. But I think I'd like to start with this question first of all. What is SaaS? Why has SaaS become so popular as a delivery model for software services? I think let me start with Tushar.
Yeah. Hi. SaaS is software as a service, just as software used to reside in the local hard disk of laptops and computers not very long ago. Given the speed of change in technology, what has happened is that software now resides in a cloud, and the service is offered to customers at different price points and with different features. But the backend is all on cloud. And SaaS has been the largest and fastest growing market segment since 2019. And Gartner said that it's a $105 billion industry. And businesses now spend almost 50% more on cloud technologies than they did 2 years back. Just to give you an example, how important it has become. On the first Monday of January 2021, Slack, it went down, and it is used by millions of teams each day. So the outage was put 12 million daily active users who were working from home out of work, and it became a rage on social media. And 12 million workers being out of the system for 3 hours is something which one SaaS product, which is Slack, did. So that is how important SaaS has become.
Awesome. That's amazing insight. 12 million people out of work in a week is quite much. In a day, it's exorbitant. So I'm interested to understand your view, Mansingh. I mean, if a layman were to come to you, what is SaaS? How would you explain SaaS to the regular audience watching us today?
Sure. So I guess most of us would be familiar with the word called software, right? So software is something which runs in your PC, mobile. It's like it's pretty much everywhere. Now, when you deliver this software as a service, which it means is that you do not really have to install the software on the physical device, right? Whether, whatever device that you will be using, whether you're a company or an individual, right? So all you are doing is you're just accessing a particular piece of a software online on the web, right? You have a user ID and password, right? You really do not care as to where the service is or where it is coming from, etc. So all you just need to do is simply just get into this application with user ID and password. So that is you're getting into an application which you can call it as a SaaS, right? So software as a service, right? So that's I would say simple definition about this particular aspect of SaaS. And also, if I have to go back into the history, so I come from SaaS industry in the sense I've worked with a company called Salesforce.com, and I think you would have heard about this company, and it's one of the largest SaaS company globally. Now, it's very interesting that if we have to talk about the IT or the technology industry, a couple of decades back, then probably we didn't have many names or examples where we can say, oh, this is a SaaS company. But then, that started changing pretty rapidly from 2000 onwards, where we have increasingly seeing that a lot of companies are now offering the services over the web, and it's very simple and easy to use, easy to access, easy to buy, right? So now it's a democratic world where you do not really have to do huge upfront investments. It's like, you pay monthly, quarterly, or annually, and you get started with the application, right? So it's like, it could be like a simple, like a Gmail or Hotmail that you're using right now. It's again example of a SaaS, because just imagine, right? So if you had to install this software on your PC or a mobile, then it would certainly create hassles, right? So there are plenty of examples where the software which are delivered as a service are getting very common. And most of the apps that we're using on our mobile phone, whether we know it or not, but you can still call most of them as SaaS, right? Because they are delivered as a service to you. But yeah, so SaaS is getting prevalent, and obviously Tushar talked about how important it has become today. So whether we talk about enterprises using SaaS applications, or whether you are a consumer using a lot of these applications by yourself, right? So that's in a nutshell is my definition about SaaS.
Awesome. Thank you for your insights, Harsh. Harsh, I want to ask you a specific question in addition to what I asked the two gentlemen. Now with the adoption, I'd like to understand your own version of SaaS, but why has SaaS become so popular? Why has it become? Is it faster? Is it easier? Is it more scalable? The audience would like to understand why it caught on so fast in a decade or less.
Got it. So I'll give you a kind of a historical context how SaaS has evolved, right? So earlier, if you want to a piece of software to run for your business, right, you'd have to go to these big tech consultancies like Accenture, KPMG, Deloitte, these guys. They would kind of custom make the software for you for your enterprise. It would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Plus, it would have annual contracts of 5 years, 10 years, where they have to pay ongoing maintenance, right? That is how software business used to typically operate. Microsoft was kind of a slight exception to that, where it used to operate, give it software for free. But essentially, most of the software that you would require, it was restricted only to the enterprises, and it used to be a longer sales cycle with custom development for each and every company, right? Then comes Salesforce. Mansingh used to work over there, right? Salesforce was in effect the pioneer of how SaaS started. What Salesforce did was Salesforce realized that there are 80% of the features are pretty much standard required for each and every person, right? So why do you need to custom code that product for everyone and provide that services to everyone? Instead, they created a combined offer for each and every person, that this is the combined offer, and all that you need to pay me is a certain amount on an annual contract. So you don't have to worry about paying the development fees of hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't have to worry about long 5-year, 10-year contracts. But you can get it on an annual contract, and you can just use it as we please. And if you need additional modules, you can pay for that additional module, right? So it completely redefined the way how softwares were operating from the old school, heavy development, long time frames, taking 6 months to 1 year just to develop the product. Instead, you can directly go with the product right now, and you can get it live within 30 minutes at the most, just by some plug and play and fixing some modules. So that is why SaaS has become so easy right now, that even common people like you and me these days can simply move on to SaaS, right? You look at Zoom, you look at StreamYard right now, how easy it is for people like us to simply set up this call and be discussing across the world, right? Just 20 years back, before Salesforce kind of democratized the entire process, it wasn't possible. This was a privilege which was open only to a few select corporates. However, now it has been democratized thoroughly, where individuals like us, we only need to pay a couple $100 a month, and we can get access to such a phenomenal service. So that is why SaaS has been growing remarkably well. It is completely revolutionized how software was, being developed and being provided as a service to the customers. This is why SaaS has been growing astronomically for the past few years.
Thank you, Harsh. Thank you for your insight. I think the audience will be satisfied with the different perspectives they've gotten from all the gentlemen here. Now, I want to go back to Tushar. Tushar, I'd like to understand embracing SaaS. Why? What are the reasons SaaS has been embraced? And what are the key characteristics that make SaaS unique?
Okay. So SaaS can be used to deliver a more efficient service. You can have flexible payments. So, rather than purchasing a software to install or, additional hardware to support it, the customers, they subscribe to a SaaS offering. Also, it has a scalable usage. So it offers a high vertical scalability, which gives customers the option to access more or less services or features on demand. Then it gives you the most important is automatic updates. So rather than purchasing a new software, customers can rely on a SaaS provider to automatically perform updates, and this reduces the burden on in-house IT staff of companies. Then accessibility and persistence. So SaaS vendors deliver applications over the internet, and the users can access them from any internet-enabled device and location. Then customization. SaaS applications are very much customizable and can be integrated with other business applications. So especially across applications from a common software provider. And the key characteristics of SaaS, which makes it very attractive as a business, definitely, determining the pricing basis the price elasticity. So offering flexible payment options, then scalability, because it is over the internet. You can practically scale it to a lot. Then, automatic updates, as I said, accessibility because it is available on the internet, and increasing collaboration. So, because SaaS developments, they enhance a business's ability to promote collaboration across teams because it's over the internet, and across departments because it facilitates file sharing. Examples of SaaS companies, they have just exploded. I mean, we are talking about $105 billion sector, and customer resource management, CRM, enterprise resource planning, ERP, accounting and invoicing, and project management, web hosting, e-commerce, human resources, data management. And in fact, two of the SaaS startups from India, Postman and Zenoti, they entered the unicorn club this year, which means a valuation of more than $1 billion. So if you talk about India per se, right now we have around 7,000 to 8,000 players in the sector, which is almost double of what it was 5 years ago. And they are clocking a turnover of almost 18 to $20 billion, which is, and they're likely to capture up to 9% market share, global market share, SaaS market share by 2022. And COVID has impacted businesses, but because these SaaS is delivered over the internet, it has been a positive for SaaS companies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that insight. And I'm sure the audience would like to know more, or I would like to know more about what, and you mentioned a bit of it, Mansingh. I'd like to ask you, what sort of services can be delivered via the SaaS model? Are we just talking about productivity tools? Are we talking about CRM, ERPs? Are there any other kind of services that can be delivered with this same SaaS model?
Sure. So if you look at the SaaS as a vertical, right? It's actually expanding in every single year. So the use cases are like multiple, right? So earlier, when I talked about the specific example of the enterprise SaaS, right? And within the enterprise SaaS, if you see, mostly that was focused around the productivity, as you rightly said, but for the businesses, right? So for example, if you want to automate your sales process, use CRM. If you want to automate your HR process, then use HRMS or HCM, right? Human capital management or human resource management system, right? And so on. So earlier, the SaaS definition was a classic enterprise SaaS where you were focused on the businesses and you were delivering an application which could help a particular function, right? But over the years, what we have seen so far is that the SaaS is now entering into virtually every single domain, right? So there are a lot of vertical SaaS players. When I talk about vertical SaaS, as an example, is So you have Shopify as an example, right? So Shopify, if you see, so they have entered into a particular segment where they are automating the e-commerce part, right? So where the merchant can just go to this particular platform, they can set up a shop and they can start selling, right? So this is one of the example where they're using a software but is delivered as a SaaS to them, and that is helping millions of merchants to actually function and increase the business, right? And similarly, whether you talk about the education technology space, whether you talk about the health technology space, and so on, right? So there are multiple verticals in which today the software is actually getting used in various different ways, right? So there are plenty of examples globally. There are plenty of examples from India where the SaaS actually has been increasingly used for multiple different areas, right? So, for example, one of the company which I can talk about is let's say Byju's, right? So while Byju's, if you see, so they can be classified as education tech company or an ed tech company in India. But if you look at the model, right, so what they're doing is that they are completely digital as a company, and they provide this content via app to the students and the learners, and the complete experience is like a SaaS, right? So it's almost like a software as a service which are delivering, and the company has grown leaps and bounds, and it's like the valuation is hitting new high every single year. And similarly, there are multiple examples in the different verticals, right? So if you look at SaaS, increasingly you would see a world where no longer companies are they really do not want to deal with the technology, where they are it's more of a one-time sale, right? So increasingly we are seeing a lot of companies are very prevalent trend in Silicon Valley. So everything has to be delivered as a service, right? And the huge advantage of doing this is that it's a recurring revenue, right? So if you're selling today, then it means is that you would collect revenue on a recurring basis, right? And which will help the company to grow faster. At the same time, obviously, since it's very convenient, very easy for consumers to use it or the companies to use it and pay, and as a result, the complete ecosystem around SaaS is growing globally.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So really, there's really no limits for the industry or the service that can use the software as a service, and it all depends on the innovation in that sector and the current needs of the customer base, which is interesting to know. And Harsh, I'd like to move next to you. Um, Obviously, software as a service is highly dependent on quality of broadband internet. And we know that broadband internet is not, even in the developed countries. Recently, I was watching how Starlink, being launched by Elon Musk, was giving better internet services, especially to rural areas in the US and all that. So, with the lack of sufficient broadband connectivity, what would you say about the prospect of SaaS penetrating and becoming much more adopted?
Got it. So this point which you mentioned, right? This would have been extremely true about 4 years back in India as well. There, the internet penetration was very poor, and you would have like barely 10% of people of population of India who had access to good internet connectivity and could use all the services, right? And then in India came the Geo revolution, which provided internet services at rock bottom prices across even tier three, tier four cities and even small towns, right? Because of that, what has happened is the internet penetration in India has shot up through the roof, and all the software companies, the social networks, all of them have seen the impact of that, right? So Geo has been the primary, what we call, which has completely shifted the paradigm of how data and internet operates in India. And now even Facebook actually invested in Geo. They invested about $5 billion for 10% of the company back during the peak of the COVID times, because they realized the importance which Geo has and how much data that it transfers, right? And they kind of understood the importance of that. That without having that kind of connectivity, you can create all the amazing tech in the world, but if you cannot provide the basic internet connectivity, none of that makes any sense, right? So that kind of a revolution is required for each and every country, even for countries in Africa as well, right? Once you have that kind of innovation, that kind of penetration, that kind of landmark thinking, which completely shift the paradigm of a billion people, That is what is required to ensure that it moves quickly. And it is required to move quickly because internet is the great neutralizer, right? Internet has democratized stuff, it has neutralized stuff, and what traditionally used to be the difference between the haves and the have nots, right? Internet has
Yeah,
bridged
yeah.
that gap. Internet has bridged that gap. So it is important to move towards that as quickly as possible and get that penetration as quickly as possible. So that the similar revolution which Geo did in India, we can have that across the other developing countries across the world as well.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Because I think it's important to let our audience know that it's a growing industry and there really is no limit to the reach that these services can get. So once innovation comes around this sector, it can easily reach both the urban and the rural areas. Tushar, I'm coming to you next, and I want to know top SaaS trends for 2021 and beyond. I mean, what's the future of SaaS? Will I be able to? I mean, it's almost close to teleportation. I mean, pardon my naivety, but I mean, it's like really connecting homes, people, services. Now, what do you think from this year going on forward? What will be the top trends in the SaaS community?
I'll just explain on this. First of all, the biggest impact on SaaS has been artificial intelligence. What happened was that during the last 1 year, four factors brought artificial intelligence right in the middle of the whole digital piece. First was that computing power, in particular for specialized AI chipsets, vastly increased. Second was that the amount of training data for AI algorithms exploded, and fully connected IoT world, AI domains, and decreasing the cost to train those algorithms. Thirdly, a large number of technological bottlenecks, such as vanishing gradients, have been solved. And lastly, the decrease in cost for cloud storage and computing, plus the facilitation of distributed collaborative learning. So, artificial intelligence is the first trend which will affect SaaS in a very meaningful way in 2021. How it will affect is in terms of personalization of the service, in terms of speed, and in terms of security. Even within security, we can argue that blockchain would be a component which might be used. In case of personalization, we can use technologies like natural language processing, NLP, and which automatically process human speech patterns and voice control. In the speed side, artificial intelligence enabled SaaS will speed up internal processes and operations. The second aspect would be machine learning, which is just a subset of artificial intelligence. It will be used to automate responsiveness in customer service reports and applications like chatbots. Third, data-driven centralized analytics. So analytics will become centralized because it's a tree structure with SaaS, with many users using it remotely, but there is a centralized place where analytics can be deployed. Then, as my friend Mansingh said about vertical SaaS, almost 1/4 of analysts they predict growth in vertical SaaS. So just as horizontal SaaS focuses on clients across any sector and industry, vertical SaaS is completely customizable, targeting clients from specific industries and supply chains. Then there would be a growing need for API connections, which is application programming interface, which is a fundamental part of software development. So next is there would be white labeling of SaaS, and it's a process where software-based businesses, they create a fully developed, tested, and finalized platform, and then sells it to another company so that they can customize it and sell it under their own branding. So that's the white label SaaS. Another trend would be a migration to platform as a service, PaaS, and many developers and providers will focus on customer retention on top of customer acquisition. Then micro SaaS. out of 8 to 9,000 SaaS companies in India right now, majority of them are small, and their product has still not scaled. So, this will lead to micro SaaS, which means that a large number of players, when they enter the arena, market gets saturated and the competition gets intensified. So SaaS companies will have to find new ways to innovate, to offer value and connect with new prospects. Then another feature would be enhanced mobile optimization. So as you know, mobile is in everybody's hands. It is very sticky, and because of the stickiness, I remember seeing Warren Buffett saying that finally, when he invested in Apple, it was because he realized the stickiness of the mobile. So there will be enhanced mobile optimization. Then the last one, which a trend which is likely to be there, is the low code capabilities. So just as no code is coming in, and similarly low code is also coming in, and due to emergence of these no code and low code platforms, and the tech startups can bring their SaaS based content to life with less technical experience. So these are the trends which I foresee for SaaS businesses in 2021, especially.
Wow, pretty much and pretty wide. I don't know. I can't. The major part I can recall was the fact that you saw AI becoming an integral part of SaaS, and a friend of VCTV will tell you that AI is the new electricity. So you can see that growing into the everyday activities of all SaaS products, and it's pretty huge. It's pretty. Mansingh, do you have any insights concerning this?
Sure. Yeah.
Future
So,
trends.
so
Yeah.
yeah. So I will talk about AI, right? So since it's very pervasive, across different technologies and SaaS platforms. So again, my exposure to AI started around when I was in Salesforce, and so like SaaS, if you see, SaaS is probably more prevalent. Last 10 to 15 year has seen a lot of adoption. SaaS has become quite common when it comes to companies or individuals using it, right? Within that, obviously, Tushar highlighted there are a lot of trends, right, which are part of the SaaS and how it is actually getting used and delivered. But if you look at the AI, right, so AI is also a particular area where you will see a lot of technology will have this AI play, and AI will be extremely common across multiple different applications, right? Again, it will be agnostic, right? So whether you're building an application for enterprise or whether you're building for consumer. So today, if you see, there is a huge demand of artificial intelligence, right? So where you will very soon see that if there is a SaaS application without an AI, it will not be in a SaaS application, right? Because we are moving towards a world where increasingly, if it's not smart, then people don't want to use it, right? So, for example, if you look at Facebook, right, today, if you see, the Facebook actually prompts you, hey, so these could be your friends, right? So do you want to add them to your network, right? If you go to LinkedIn, so LinkedIn also does the same thing, right? So there is a common connection. You guys went to a same school, or you went to the same company, and do you want to add this connection, right? So there is very a very unique aspect of the way the SaaS applications are getting developed, where the AI will play a very crucial role. And very soon, like SaaS has become quite common. We are using the SaaS across different companies and industries. The AI will also become very common, right? So whether you're using a car, which will be like a connected car, right? So if there's a software application which will run your car, then the car will actually talk to you. It will prompt you, hey, the gas station is nearby and I can see you're running out of fuel, right? Do you want to stop and fill the gas, right? So similarly, and there were a lot of some interesting concept, right? So like your toothbrush, right? It will be actually be SaaS connected and AI connected. So when you brush your teeth, right, if there is any problem with your teeth, then before you realizing or making any action to it, actually that feed will be connected to your doctor, and doctor will start making the recommendations. Hey, I see there is some problem with your teeth, right? So why don't you just take an appointment to come down, right? So you will increasingly see a lot of these the trends which will be embedded in the daily products and the lives, right? And it will be seamless and across, right? But I clearly see that the AI would become very common. it will have huge impact on the way the SaaS applications are run today and consumed. So that's my quick comment about the AI and the SaaS piece.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for that, and thank you for reminding me because I actually have a problem with my teeth. I need to see the dentist in the next few days, and I probably wouldn't need to feel the pain if I had a IoT enabled, SaaS enabled toothbrush. And
Yes.
to think that that's where we'll be going to in the next 5, 10 years is pretty scary because
Yeah.
that's like almost invasive of my privacy. And almost invasive of my privacy. And really, the whole world will have to get used to this new normal. And but then again, I want to ask Harsh this. A lot of people mix and represent SaaS and cloud computing. For the sake of our audience, what is there any difference? And if there is, can you just point out the differences between cloud computing and SaaS, PaaS, and all the other AASs out there?
Got it. So cloud computing is something far more advanced and it's a base of a technology, right? SaaS is the, you could call it the outer layer, which people actually use to get the stuff done. Cloud computing is more along the lines of say AI or blockchain, which operates in the back end, which makes the front end much more better. That is fundamentally how it's different, right? So in terms of the opportunities, SaaS is completely different. SaaS is directly customer facing or the user facing. You can't have cloud computing directly at the end customer level. It's more operating on the back end. It is facilitating. You can use cloud computing to make the experience of the SaaS better for the end customer. That's how the two are linked by itself. And coming back to the the opportunities in the coming year for 2021 2022, I actually feel cloud computing and AI are becoming going to become basic necessities in any SaaS play, right? So even if you look at it right now, most SaaS plays they definitely have an AI component to it where they put an unsecured learning algorithm to ensure that the app is constantly evolving and constantly improving. So it is not like it's good to have AI. It is a necessity to have AI. And if you don't have AI in your SaaS product, you're as good as you're on the verge of getting extinct, basically. So AI is basically it's a given. It's going to be there. The next bigger advancement which I see is how you can have a decentralized database with the help of blockchain, right? Right now, the biggest challenge with integrating blockchain in the current SaaS apps is blockchain tends to be slower because it has to go through multiple nodes to capture the data and bring it back. Because of that, it could make the experience slower, and that is why a lot of developers are still not that confident of including blockchain in the SaaS apps as well. If they can figure out a way to make it much more faster and much more efficient, the decentralized storage of data could then kind of take SaaS from the current level to an next higher level, because then the data privacy, the point which you mentioned, right, which currently people are scared of, that so much of our data is going to these big companies, then it will be completely decentralized. Then the security element is also kind of taken care of in a way, not completely, but in a way it's kind of taken care of, where it's completely data secure, as well as you have all the benefits of AI. It is fast and all the benefits are there. So these are some of the areas where I see technologically all SaaS platforms can benefit from. If you look at it in terms of individual industries where I see a lot of progress happening, the biggest one which I see is marketing technology, right? I mean, the amount of money that goes into marketing technology, and the amount of investments and the amount of advancements which are happening in the space are absolutely phenomenal. In fact, I'm just in touch with two marketing tech companies, helping them, grow their business, how they can look at international expansion, and the kind of innovative technology that the startups are coming up with. It's actually absolutely mind-boggling. So, 10 years back, having a Facebook was a really novel thing, right? You can do a per bid ad. Google pay per click started first, then Facebook pay per click started, where you are paying on an individual ad basis. You can customize the impressions, you can customize all the nuances which are there. And now all of that is like it's like ages ago. Now you have programmatic and native ads. That is what is driving the platform now. Then you have pop ads, and now you are focusing to increasingly higher segments, right? So that is where one of the segments where I see marketing is going to take most of the chunk, and Salesforce being the pioneer, I'm sure will come up with new and new interesting products over there as well. Additionally, I could see a lot of fintech apps as well in this space, because right now fintech has still been a very centralized way of operating. But if they can include blockchain and fintech and try and make it more decentralized, I mean, the opportunities are infinite. How fintech can be decentralized.
Wonderful. I mean, you've taken it from the regular industry, CRM, ERP, to fintech, marketing tech, interesting industries, and also fastly developing industries. And before I have one question, and I'm saving almost the best for last. I'm saving the best for last. But before I go to that last question, Tushar, I mean, SaaS companies getting on the stock market, how are they valued to get to that level? I mean, give me your insights in that regard.
There are almost 50 publicly traded SaaS companies on the US stock exchanges, and they command over $250 billion in aggregate market capitalization. Revenue multiple is average revenue multiple is 5.7x, but there are unicorns which are 15x, 10x, and then there are the early ones which are somehow facing scalability issues, and hence they command a lower revenue multiple. But gross margins are very strong at almost 73%, and they generate a lot of free cash flow, so that's why the valuations are good. So you would recall that the traditional sectors like clothing or food, they run at 2 to 3 times revenue. If the technology is there, then they run at more multiples. But having a 5.7x revenue average revenue multiple is very good. And even in the case of number of companies, almost 8,000 9,000 in India, and almost 10,000 in US. And majority of these 10,000 companies in the US, they generate less than $3 million in annual revenue, which means that they are facing competition issues, they are facing differentiation issues. They are trying to develop moats to differentiate them and protect their market share and grow their market share. Uh, you know, just a look at some of the names in SaaS companies: SurveyMonkey, HubSpot. Some people say that Microsoft Windows is also a SaaS. Some say that let us not treat it like that. Mailchimp, which is used by so many. And I remember, I used to struggle with Adobe Photoshop many years back to develop creatives for my college work, and now we have Canva. So Canva commands a $6 billion valuation just by simplifying the making of creatives, which are so regularly used by so many, making it available on the internet, and commanding a $6 billion valuation. Shopify, like my friend here said, and Slack, which is used by millions. Then you have some more like Zoom. Zoom went on to become $34 billion market cap, and Salesforce, which is the biggest of them. And so some of these names like Dropbox is there, and Wix, which is allows you to create your own website sitting at home. So they have simplified that to a large extent. So looking at some of these names, it just enthuses me and makes me feel that SaaS has a very bright future.
Obviously, from all that you have said today, and all the gentlemen have contributed, it's obvious that SaaS has a big future, infused with AI, infused with blockchain, infused with a little bit of all these emerging technologies, and you find out that the future is actually indeed bright. And I'm sure our audience will have picked one or two things about this industry, and they will want to know this. And this is why I saved it for the last question as we come to the end of today's show. Now, with all that you have said, what do you think an average listener watching us right now on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, what skills do they need to be relevant in this day and time when it comes to SaaS, when it comes to cloud computing? I mean, there are specific skills, maybe software skills, some training skills. You are talking the other time about NLP, definitely some programming. I want to start with Mansing. You have experience in Salesforce, right? And you've seen this thing happen firsthand. What are your um, insights in the kind of skills that take you to the top of this industry?
Sure. So if you look at the world that we're living in today, right? So the good piece is that there are multiple options when it comes to technology for building applications, right? So earlier, we used to have only few options, which is C, C++, Java, right? So those were the few programming languages. Like if you are a Java developer, you can build applications. If you understand C, C++, and 22 25 years back, I used to learn, I used to be certified in languages, right? And then I qualified as a software developer, saying that you can build applications, right? But if you look at the scenario now, right, so a lot has changed, right? So you have a lot of options to build technology, and you have also platforms where you can actually do a drag and drop, with low or no code, you can build applications, right? And I'm not going into too specifics, because again, if you're not a techie, then the good piece is, or the good news is, that you can still go on and build SaaS applications, right, if you want, right? But all you need is, you need to have a good business model, right? So you need to really know that what application you want to build and why you want to build it, who will use it, and what kind of pricing that they would you can arrive at, so that it is sellable and people pay you for what you're building, right? So with obviously the business acumen has to be there, with a little bit of technical acumen which could be there. But obviously what we are finding today is that you could have any use case, right? Be it any industry, it's very agnostic, and you can still pick up that use case and you can build products on top of that, right? So yeah, so that's a quick advice I would like to give. So as long as you have a business idea, you can easily convert into a SaaS application. You can start generating revenue towards that.
Um, Thank you very much for that. I came across a couple of a team somewhere where they try to promote no-code tools. No-code tools make it easy for anybody to just drag and drop and create something. So without the need to go in depth into, let's say, Python or SQL and all that, you can just use these no-code tools to build. But what's most important is for you to have the business acumen to know the business process and what should be put forward and not. Harsh, do you share that same opinion? I mean, skills, techniques, and things that you need to stay above in the coming revolution. Your mic is mute.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
bad. So for business guys, as Mansingh mentioned, it's really not that complicated, right? So even for business guys, it's slightly different though. You need to be able to understand how tech operates. You need to be able to speak the tech language. You need to understand how software works. You need to understand the basics of the product and the technology as well. Because without understanding those basics, for even for a business entrepreneur, it'll become difficult. Because so on this side of the front of as an investor, I see lots of startup founders who are coming to pitch. They are into the SaaS space. However, they don't understand how the product is made. They don't understand the nitty-gritties. They don't understand why in a specific thing, why something is being done. What's the logic behind it, right? In SaaS, the most crucial element is the product. So having that product understanding, the understanding of your target behavior, target customer behavior, my bad. Understanding the target customer behavior, the nitty-gritties regarding that, why the flow is why the flow of the product has been made in a specific way. There's a lot of deep thought which is required, and that has to come from the non-technical founder. So he has to really think through, go through the deep down, engage the product managers, engage the UI UX engineers to get all of that. So that is the skill which is required for a business guy to understand what the tech that is being used. As far as the tech guy is concerned, the basic JavaScript, Python, those are the basics ones. Obviously, you need to have an understanding of AI as well, because now AI is it's a given. Any technology has to have AI, so you need to understand how you're training your models. You're using secured learning, unsecured learning. what's the logic behind that, how do you train your data models. Those basics are like bare minimum that is required to even start with the minimum level of AI, right? Down the line, I also see the importance of hyperledger technology. So hyperledger technology, we the number of developers currently with access to that kind of skill set is still pretty low right now. That is why they are extremely expensive to hire. But we would see within next 2 3 years it should become more democratized and much more easier to recruit blockchain developers as well. So overall, technology is always changing, and this actually makes tough for the tech guys, right? Because every 1 or 2 years you have these newer technologies coming up, and they have to constantly update their skills to ensure that they are up for the pace. Because otherwise, if they work with the same old JavaScript and Python, they'll be left behind, unfortunately.
Obviously, it's the same thing with every technology. If you do not stay updated, I mean, in 6 months' time, you could lose your job if you're not updated. So
Exactly.
there is a pressing need to be updated and to stay ahead of the trends. And I really want to use this opportunity to thank my viewers and thank everyone that's tuned in. And I want to encourage entrepreneurs, startups out there. This is an opportunity to get with the team, to pitch your ideas, to pitch your projects. Now you can pitch it live on Latoken VCTV and get feedback in real time and maybe get the support you're looking for from these beautiful gentlemen. And just as we round up, guys, I'd like to take a last parting bit from each one of you. And I will start with Tushar. Please, your final thoughts, your parting words.
Thank you. It's been always a pleasure coming on La Token VCTV. The quality of discussion, the moderators are very well informed. There is a lot of professionalism in the way talks are conducted, and hence the outcomes have very significant quality in them. I would just like to round up by saying that I deal with a lot of SaaS companies. I help them get funding. I help them get business. There is a client of mine which is called FairXPay. It's a SaaS-based company into B2B cross-border payments, and I hold an equity stake there as well. Just for the disclaimer, businesses lose almost 150 billion yearly due to the fees and FX rates, forex rates, and it takes very long to process cross-border payments than domestic payments because there are a number of parties involved. On an average, it takes 2 to 5 working days to clear cross-border payment. And it depends on the number of intermediary banks the funds need to pass through. And most of the times, I've worked in $2 billion treasury, MTS. I've worked in $3 billion treasury at Aircel. And businesses have no idea who is giving the best exchange rate for cross-border payments. And they don't have the resources to research as well. And what they do is 99% of the businesses and treasuries, they just go by what their current banking partners are saying. So this product, which this company has developed, PairXPay, it gives you the best forex rate and offers savings as compared to a bank rate. And it is democratizing the cross-border payments market, which has huge monolith monopoly players in the form of multinational banks, and it offers you a single SaaS-based portal to give answers to all your questions regarding forex rates, regarding cross-border payments. It has horizontally and vertically. It's an aggregator. It has tied up with all the players in the industry. This particular product can be integrated to your SAP or any ERP, and the top 10 global providers are there on this platform, and it covers payments to 200 countries and 130 plus currencies. So FairXPay, just by seeing the product, it's just amazing what SaaS can do and what SaaS can enable. And acting in such a difficult market which has cross-border entities and still doing such a wonderful job. So that's why I wanted to bring this company on a brief discussion while closing today's discussion about SaaS. Thank you so much.
Awesome. And I think one of the most beneficial use cases of SaaS is that results are gotten in real time, and that is very important in a fast-paced world where seconds matter. So, I mean, we all know SaaS is the future. I mean, we are on StreamYard, we're on Zoom, and it's because we have access to this platform as a service and this software as a service. So, I mean, awesome opportunities and insights. Mansingh, please give us your parting words, your insights, and your predictions about this industry. And apart from my teeth being invaded by my toothbrush, what else do you see happening in this industry?
So it's been a fantastic discussion. So obviously we brought a lot of these points around SaaS industry, but obviously when we say that technology is future, right? So now specifically I would say that SaaS is the future because obviously it's a huge part of the technology, right? So going forward, if you see, the SaaS will be extremely dominant category when the moment we talk about technology and how technology is delivered, used and consumed, right? So I clearly see that it's a rising industry, and I still feel that we're just getting started. The party is just getting started for SaaS, and I would highly encourage that anyone who is looking at technology or who wants to build company, then they should actively look at SaaS as a category, and there are multiple benefits of doing that. And then the help is hand, right? Today, if you see, the VC ecosystem is very supportive, and I have actually seen that a lot of investors like us, right? We scout for SaaS companies to invest into because we feel that it's like very high potential industry, and it can actually solve the problems that world is facing today in a very radically different way. So those are the parting words from my side on the SaaS piece.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I think, Harsh, we want to hear from you. What do you think will happen 5-10 years from now? What are your insights?
So I would slightly like to disagree with the point that you mentioned earlier. SaaS is actually not the future; it's the present, right? So it's just like COVID. Back then, Zoom was supposed to be the future. That we used to do. We'll use video conferencing through Zoom. Around January 2020, we would think Zoom is the future, and that's how we'll communicate. And come COVID, and in the month of April, May, everyone is using Zoom. So it was no longer the future; it was the present. And that is the same case with SaaS. SaaS is here; it's bound to stay. It's only going to grow higher, as Mansingh mentioned, right? This is just the beginning. We cannot even possibly imagine what other future applications can be through SaaS, right? Even those small nitty-gritty things which can be automated through technology, all of that is going to be transferred on SaaS. Make it as convenient as possible. And the best part is with onset of cloud hosting services like AWS, Microsoft Azure, etc. It's becoming hilariously easy to build a SaaS product and offer those benefits to customers, right? So SaaS is there, it's going to stay, it's only going to grow higher. If right now it is worth around $150 billion, by the next 4-5 years, you could easily add a zero to that. That's how quickly it is growing.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Your insights and your thoughts. I'm sure the audience will very much appreciate all this. And I would urge everyone that has tuned in or missed out on this session to go back to our YouTube channel, watch this whole discussion over again. You can catch us on Twitter, you can catch us on Facebook and on LinkedIn. And we're also on YouTube. Follow us, like us, and set a reminder for the next episode of Latoken VCTV. We really appreciate all our viewers and especially our panelists. Mansingh, thank you very much. Harsh, Tushar. And I know that for all my Asian or Indian brothers, SaaS might mean something. All due apologies to whoever might feel offended. And we were not talking about anybody's mother-in-law. It's just the software. And then we look forward to the next episode of Latoken VCTV and hosting you guys. Thank you very much and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.